Welcome back to another episode of Rethink Real Estate. This is a follow-up episode from our previous episode that was a practical one going through weekly meetings and also the weekly report. This episode is about the follow-up questions, better detailed questions that you need to be asking in order to make sure that you can compile your weekly meeting reports, so therefore they're as accurate as possible. The one thing that I will continue to reiterate, is that educating your client, regardless of whether they need it or they don't, is a really important step in order to make sure that we're not being overzealous when it comes to the value of a property or what we think it's worth. Really good way of me putting this is that you probably drove your car at some point today, or you're probably in your car at the moment and you have it insured just in case. Educating your seller down just in case we miss the marketplace is really important, because even if they want 1.5 million, if you educate them to 1.3 or 1.4, it doesn't stop them from accepting 1.5 when it turns up. It just ensures that they will. And asking these better questions will give you better feedback in order to give them from a pricing perspective in those weekly reports that you give them in the weekly meetings. Thanks so much. Welcome to Rethink Real Estate. My name is Ben Brady, and this is a real estate podcast aimed to deliver sales strategies, marketing tips, and business insights from industry experts and myself to build a listing-focused business for the future. Let's get into it. So on the last practical episode, I went through weekly meetings and weekly reports. Now, one of the things that I definitely wanted to make sure that we went back through, or we made very clear in this episode, is that most of the time people will struggle to get price feedback out of people. And most of the time people won't dive deeper into that price feedback. So let me give you an example of what a normal regular feedback conversation goes with. Ring, 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 or text, text, text. Usually it's over text, to be honest with you, is that they text the agent after they've shown them on showing app, and there's actually no dialogue or communication between them whatsoever, which is first and foremost an incredible red flag. But that being said, it's usually like, oh yeah, we think it's priced right. Now, if somebody says that and they don't place an offer, that is just complete and utter bullshit. So at the end of the day, I believe that we've got to push a little bit harder in order to get an understanding of price. So for example, let me give you an example of what a conversation would look like if I was following up after an open house, after a showing. Now, this conversation would be basically the same if it was an agent or a buyer. Okay, it doesn't matter really. The same line of questioning would go through. So, for example, ring, ring, ring. Hi, this is Ben Brady with Harcourts Real Estate. I'm just calling back about 12 Smith Street. Okay, I just wanted to make sure you remembered that one. Oh, yes, we remember it, Ben. Great. Let's say that this is an agent, first and foremost. Yeah, we remember taking our client through it, or our client went through it on the weekend, or whatever it may be. Okay, is that great? One of my priorities to just get an understanding of whether or not you'll be coming back for a second showing. I always used to make sure that in that follow-up call, I would ask for a call to action to get a really good understanding at the very beginning of the process to know, has that agent reached back out to the buyer? Has the buyer got any interest, whatever it may be? Because if they said no, no, that property's not going to be for them, it really gives you the direction of the conversation from the beginning. Then that would be like, great, well, part of my process is to make sure that I can give my seller accurate price feedback so that they can make an informed decision. Okay, now let's say that this is a traditional listing and it's priced at $1.5 million. Can I get some feedback around $1.5 million as a list price? Oh yeah, we think that it's pretty well priced. Great. So if you think it's well priced, would your client make an offer at that level? Oh, well, no, I don't know. I'm not sure. Okay. Well, at what level do you think they would make an offer for this property? Oh, I'm not really sure. We haven't followed up with them. I don't know it's for them. Great. Well, let me direct the questioning more to you. What do you think the property's worth? Oh, well, I haven't pulled comps. So would you say that 1.5 is okay? Yeah, it is. So if your client turned to you and said that they'd like to write an offer at 1.5, what would you suggest that they write? Would you suggest yes? What would you say to them? Oh, well, I'd have to have a look. Great. So then if they said $1.3 million, what would your suggestion be? Would you say, yes, we should write it up, or give them that offer? Well, I'm not really quite sure. Okay, great. Well, I'd really like to get a real opinion from you around what you think it's worth, or your client thinks it's worth, so I could accurately represent that to my client. Would you mind if I followed you back up? Now, I've got to be honest, is that if an agent is this dismissive, okay, or this unaware, I'm pretty confident that the reality is that they wouldn't have been to the open house with that client or wouldn't have gone through to the showing. Now, this is really important, okay? This is why I think open houses are very, very powerful. And I would be limiting the volume of private showings on a property, because I will go as far as to say that 80% of buyers are coming to open houses without their agent. This gives you an opportunity to then get down their information. So this is all contingent on you getting the information at the front door of an open house. Now, if you need to feel confidence in getting people's information at the front door of an open house, have your seller write into the listing agreement that anybody that enters their private property needs to provide at least the name, first and last, and also a phone number or an email address. Okay, I'd leave it just with a phone number. That's the priority, is the phone number. And then you can stand at the front door at the open and say, hey, look, my sellers have requested that anybody that comes through gives a first, last name and phone number. Okay, so my name's Ben. What's your name? It's John. John, last name X. Can I get a best contact number for you? Right? That provides you with the ability to go straight to the source, because most agents are going to try and dodge having any conversation about price. They want to keep the door open. And I've got to be honest, most of them wouldn't have even looked at the property from a comparable value at all. So you're probably going to be dancing around in circles like what that first conversation was. So if you were having a direct conversation with a buyer about this, it gets you straight to the source. So let's go back through that again. Ring, ring, ring. Hi there, this is Ben Brady with Harcourts Auctions. I just wanted to reach out. You came through 12 Smith Street on the weekend. Do you remember that property? Oh, yes, I do. Great. Can we get you back through for a second showing? Or, yeah, Ben, I don't know that it's for us. I think we're just looking, or whatever it may be. Okay, no problem. All I wanted to do was make sure that I followed up, because part of the process that we take our sellers through is getting price feedback from the marketplace. Price feedback is really important to them so they can make an informed and educated decision on what the value of their home might be in today's market. Now, the price is at $1.5 million. Okay, what did you think the property was worth? Oh, well, yeah, I think it's priced pretty well. Okay, well, would you put an offer in at 1.5? Oh, no, I don't think it's for us. Oh, well, usually if the property is for you or not for you, it can be influenced by price. So if I said that the seller would accept 1.4, would you put an offer in? No, I don't think it's for us. So even at 1.3, and again, I'm just for the sake of a conversation, is that even at 1.3, if the seller would accept that, you're not a buyer for this property. Oh, no. It isn't for us. Okay, well, hey, look, I really appreciate you giving me your feedback. If your opinion did change, I'd love to get you back for a second showing, blah, 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 blah. So I want to just point out what we have done there. We've taken a buyer that basically said that, oh, we think 1.5 is fine, just to get me off the phone and not be contentious. And if we just directly took that back to the sellers at 1.5 through somebody that's never going to pay that amount of money, that is an inflation of what the actual reality is. Going back through, and your call to duty in this to make sure that your sellers have an accurate reflection of the marketplace is to scale back. 1.5? Okay, would you put an offer in at that level? No. 1.4? No. What about 1.3? No, I wouldn't. So now you could say to your seller is that they would not put an offer in at $1.3 million. I think that that's a very different thing. Now, you might be there thinking about this, and it's definitely something that I've said a million times before, but I will continue to say it. And it's a real challenge in today's marketplace, is that I don't care whether you think it's worth $1.5 million, or you think it's worth $1.6 million, or you think it's worth $1.4 million. Educating a seller for the sake of educating puts an insurance policy on you getting the price wrong and your seller's expectations being too high. I did a class the other day with our Bend, Oregon team, and I said to them, did you drive your car here with insurance on it? Yes. Why? Just because, or just in case. Just in case. So educate your seller, just in case. Let me ask you this question to the audience. If you educate them to $1.3 million, does it stop them accepting 1.5 if there is an offer that comes in at 1.5? No. No, it doesn't. But it does make you bring your seller's expectations down to a point that if 1.4 million turns up and that's the best offer you get, at least they don't have to start making the decision when it turns up. They can actually already be there. It's a very dangerous thing to not have your seller in a position when the marketplace presents itself. It is not your responsibility to make sure that you get their number. It is your responsibility to make sure that when the market turns up, that your seller is ready to look at it seriously. Okay. And by doing that is adjusting the expectations regardless, educating them for the sake of educating regardless through all of the individual activities. And part of that is the questions that I just went through. You have a distinct responsibility to get people's information and then follow them up all the way. Now let's do another quick script. If you're talking to an agent, ring, ring, ring. And this is an agent that might be a little bit more committing to the actual conversation. Hi there, this is Ben Brady from Harcourts. I'm calling up about 123 Smith Street. I believe your client went through it the other day. And I just wanted to follow up and get some price feedback from our sellers. But the first thing is, are they going to go back for a second showing? I can help you organize that. Oh, Ben, no, it's actually not for them. Okay, great. So what did they think about price? And also, what do you think about the price? What's that one price? That 1.5? Oh, yeah, I think that's pretty good. I think it's pretty accurate. Great. Well, if it was pretty accurate, your client would probably want to put an offer in at that level. So would they put an offer in at 1.5? Oh, no, I just don't think it's going to be for them. Okay, great. So 1.4? No. It's probably not for them, Ben. But so you're telling me that even if my seller would accept 1.3, that it's not a property for them. So it can't be driven based on price. No, I don't think it would be. What do you think the value is if I said that the seller would buy it at 1.3? Oh, I think that'd be a good buy. Okay. Okay, great. So do you have an opinion of what you think homes are worth in that marketplace at the moment, or what you might think this home's worth? Oh, well, I think maybe it might get to, 1.5. Great, but your client wouldn't put an offer in at that level. No, I don't think so. Great. Okay, thank you so much. So then at least you can go into that follow-up and go, their client would not put an offer in at 1.3. I think it's really important that you can drive down the volume of feedback when somebody isn't willing to write the offer, to make sure that an opinion of value does not influence your sellers, okay, when they are not willing to put it on paper. So this is your challenge. First and foremost, to follow up. Not first and foremost. First and foremost is get the information in order to follow up. Don't just use the showing time app. What is your active log of people that you can then follow up with? Okay. Then actually doing the follow-up call and then pushing a little bit further to ask for the hard questions to give a better and accurate weekly report. Thanks so much. Hopefully it helps. So about 75% of our audience hasn't liked, followed, or subscribed to our podcast. It would mean the world to us, and it would help this podcast more than you know to expand our reach if you were to like, follow, or subscribe on any of the platforms that you're watching or listening on. Thanks again.